Hello, Virginia. Thank you ever so much for joining us. And as you know, on this occasion, it's Monday, the 25th of September. It's our Sheep Plant Association conference. And we're wanting to learn about the Emerging Leaders program that you've been running now for, I think, the last 10 years. Can you tell what is the Emerging Leaders program? And can you give us an overview of how it came about and what the main aims of the program are?
Well, first, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Neil. The AICC Emerging Leader Program started about 10 years ago with our chairman, Mark Mathis from Vanguard Packaging. And during his chairmanship year, he wanted to do something to help young people in the industry grow and develop. He had two young sons in the industry who were working in his company, and he recognized that if he had this need and he had these young people that he wanted to help bring into the industry and get them really involved with it, that other member companies probably did as well. So he thought about different groups that he had seen, including some local groups with like a 30 under 30 type of group. He thought about a program that he was part of when he was young, many years ago, called the Sons of Bosses, or the SOBs. And he wanted something that was like that, but a little bit more focused and elevated. And so he came to the staff of AICC and said, we should do an emerging leader program. And we had our first meeting, like you said, about 10 years ago, and about 40 young people showed up, showing their interest. And we talked to them about what they want to get out of it, what they're looking for, how we can help. And today we have over 100 leaders in the program.
And just a little more detail of the who. So who is the Emerging Leader program mainly focused at? Who are the audience?
So our membership, AICC's membership, has general and associate members, so box makers as well as suppliers within our membership. And any employee at AICC member companies can participate in the Emerging Leader program as long as they are under 35. And we promise, so that's kind of like our graduation age. And we promise everybody at least 2 years in the program. So if somebody joins at 35, they at least get to stay in until they're 37. So they get some of the benefit of being part of it. A lot of the supplier companies support it because they're getting their young people to make friends with box makers who they may eventually be able to sell to. But what the leaders who come into the program really get is the same training and the opportunities for growth and understanding of what they can do.
And what would a participant get out of the emerging program overall?
Strong networking, creating a strong network, I should say, is definitely a big part of it. You've come to an AICC meeting, and so walking into a room of 600 people can be kind of a lot, even for the most outgoing people. And so this gives them a built-in network of people that they know that they can rely on, that they become friends with, that they can talk to about anything involving the industry. I'm having this problem at work. What are you doing? So they're talking to their peers about that, as well as at the meetings. So the AICC Emerging Leader programs offer a lot of specific deliverables to the participants, and those have sort of evolved over the years based on what they need. When the program first started, we had peer networks. We assigned people basically to become friends. And we also had industry mentors where we would have a leader who said they wanted to grow in sales. And so we would go out into the industry and find them somebody who is strong in sales and connect them that way. What they have developed is they've started creating quarterly C-suite webinars where they go out and they say, we want to learn more about HR. So we find an HR executive to come and talk to them. Or they want to talk to the CEO. And so we bring in a couple of different CEOs and they learn from them about what they do and how they lead and how they got their company going and what they're looking for. For the C-suite webinars, we've brought in, a CFO to talk about more about how they structure things and less how to of like day-to-day work, but more about sort of how the organization functions and who plays what role and like what a typical day looks like, as our emerging leaders are across all departments. And so especially when we were starting out, so we would have, 5 people from sales, 5 people from HR, 5 people from customer service. So there wasn't a broad enough base of one type of need in there. And so we did focus a lot on leadership and how to take that back into their own departments. And we would bring in speakers. A lot of times we would bring in leaders of AICC member companies to talk about what they look for in young professionals and to help them develop in those ways. And then we also offer 2 programs at our national meetings. We'll have a networking portion as well as a training portion. So networking, like I said, always important, and they are young people, so they do like to get together and have a cocktail. But we also make sure that we're teaching them. So we talk about leading from any position. We talk about how to manage up. We talk about how to develop a road plan or a roadmap of where you want to go and where you want to be and what you have to do to put that into place in your company and create a plan around that.
And from the sort of administrative side, who runs the Emerging Leaders program?
We actually have delegates that our emerging leaders will vote on. So they select who's going to sort of be the leadership of the Emerging Leader program. And those delegates have non-voting seats on the AICC board. So the emerging leaders are represented within the leadership of the overall association. And then within the emerging leaders, they've actually created their own committees. So they have a committee for membership to reach out to other emerging leaders, try to get them in the program. They've really developed this program into what they want to be and taken ownership of it to help make it a really wonderful opportunity for young people in the industry.
It's one of the things we've been wrangling with about how to encourage more new blood into the industry, and it's great. What you've just said is actually the new blood encourages more new blood, so self-fulfilling, self-benefiting. Very good.
For any young professionals out there, it's like joining any group. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. You can put in nothing and get out very little, or you can actually get involved and take part in events and talk to others, be willing to put yourself out there, and you're going to get a group of peers that will literally go to the ends of the earth for you. Very tight bonds, a lot of learning about how to help yourself grow and how to learn from your peers.
Was it physical attendance expected for those 40 or so?
It was required.
Yeah.
At the beginning of our program, we required people to come to X number of events. Like we might hold 4 or 5 events in a year, and they were required to come to at least 3.
Right.
And they were physical events because we wanted them to get involved. We didn't want people to just sign up and be like, yeah, and I'm an emerging leader, and just sit at their desk and not do anything with it.
And maybe also with the Emerging Leaders company, what support is required from the Emerging Leaders company to help them?
That's a great question. Something that a lot of our members asked us when we first started to get this up and running. And the support from a member company for AICC Emerging Leaders, there's no charge to join the Emerging Leaders, and our C-suite webinars are free. We do have registration fees for our live events, like at the national meeting and our summer field trip. We just need to make sure that we cover the costs of those events. And we wanted the companies to understand you're going to have to let your team member do this, this, and this when you sign them up for this. And this is what they're going to get out of it. So our senior delegate who finished her term a few months ago was just talking about how when she first started this program, she would actually write up a report for her supervisor saying, this is what I learned from this training. This is what I think it can do for our plant here. And these are my next steps. Who do you want to grow? Like who is exceptional in your plant that you want to keep there? So you want to show them that you're willing to invest time, energy, and attention into to help them grow. Who do you see that is on the verge of being, the next manager, the next director, the next you? When you show a young professional, or really any professional, that you want to help them succeed, that you are trying to help them create a path to grow in that company, they're going to want to stay in that company. It's going to be a lot harder for them to think about jumping ship and going to the plant, 3 miles away.
And finally, how would you advise us, how we should get started?
One of the things that we did when we were just getting our program started is we had a working session, and we invited all of our or any prospective emerging leader, anybody who is under 35, to come in for an hour during one of our national meetings, since a lot of them are already there, and talk to us about what are some of your goals with your career? How do you think you can get there? What are some of the gaps that you see in your own understanding of your growth that we can help sort of fill in? So I think getting their input is incredibly important. And also talking to your board and finding out what challenges they have, either developing young people in their plants or getting young people in their plants, and see where those two overlap, from what the young people need to what the experienced leaders are looking for in their companies. When it was first family and a family company, we talked a lot about succession. We would have at least like one succession workshop a year. Just how do you start that conversation? Because you have, like a young person there who kind of wants to know what the heck is going to happen. And then we would bring in companies that have done it successfully already. Like we'd bring in first generation and second generation to sit in front of the group and talk about, I thought I was going to throw my dad out a window at one point. And the father saying, well, this kid, I just wanted to boot him. But then we figured out if we talked about it this way, and if we did this, this, and this, then we found out what worked for us. That was helpful to them to see that some of their anxiety and their concern, they weren't alone in it.
Thank you very much, Virginia. That's been fantastic. I'm sure that's inspired a number of our emerging leaders and their bosses, and will enthuse and encourage us to pick up on the Emerging Leaders program in the UK. Thanks very much.
Absolutely my pleasure. I love talking about the leaders, so I was happy to join you today.